A single paternity test shattered everything. The Eloan family finally found their long-lost biological daughter. And I became the impostor, the thief who had stolen someone else's life. Fortunately, having fulfilled Xianxia, after more than 20 years of living together, the Eloans decided to let me stay. Even though their real daughter had returned. I knew my place. I tried to make myself invisible. But accidents, it seemed, were bound to happen. Gannett fell down the stairs. Her nephew testified that I had pushed her. She suffered stomach pains in the middle of the night, claimed it was the porridge I cooked that poisoned her. She bungled a business negotiation, but said I had deliberately given her an impossible task to humiliate her. In no time, every move the fake daughter made was twisted into malice. No one would listen. I couldn't defend myself. All I could do was work harder, pouring everything into saving the Eloan family's company. Just to repay their so-called kindness in raising me. I became a tireless machine, shouldering everything, reviving the collapsing business only to be discarded when I was no longer useful. Rumors spread that I was clinging to my shares in the family company, scheming to steal the Eloan's fortune. Then my boyfriend of 5 years proposed. But on our wedding night, he tricked me into signing a share transfer agreement. While I was basking in my supposed happiness, during our honeymoon, he pushed me into the ocean. The sharks came. And just before they tore into me, I saw Kale and Gannett standing hand on the deck, laughing. So that was it. My beloved had never loved me, only the real daughter's identity. They had been working together all along. Not only to take my shares, but also my life. If there were ever a second chance, I swore I would make those two wretches choke on their sins. And as for the Eloan family, they would never again drain a single drop of worth from me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day Gannett had dragged her suitcase out, sobbing about wanting to return to her dingy rental apartment. Miraculously, I had been reborn. I heard her choked voice repeating the same lines as before. Mom, Dad, I'm so happy to see you again. But I don't belong here. I can't fit into this happy family. Eloan doesn't like me. And Theo doesn't like his new aunt either. It's my fault. I'm useless. Not even 1/10 as good as my sister. So Grandpa doesn't like me either. It's not anyone's fault. I'm just not good enough. I don't deserve to be your daughter. Or the Eloan family's eldest daughter. Looking up, I saw her crying in my mother's arms. The picture of fragile innocence. Auntie. Auntie? Theo tugged at my arm. His little face flushed red from trying to pull me off the sofa. Auntie. Aunt Gannett is really leaving this time. Say something. I studied the 5-year-old's worried face. It wasn't an act. When my brother and sister-in-law died in a car accident, Theo wasn't even 2. In my previous life, I poured my heart into raising him, giving him the best of everything, only for him to betray me later. Standing beside Gannett, as I noticed the crumbs of bread at the corner of his mouth, I suddenly understood why. Theo had always been sickly since birth. With a delicate stomach, I oversaw every meal he ate. Sometimes even cooked for him myself, preparing carefully balanced, nutritious meals. Naturally, I never allowed him to eat junk food. But who would have thought that the child I'd protected so fiercely could be bought so easily with a bucket of fried chicken? In my past life, he even testified for Gannett, claiming he saw me push her down the stairs. And still, I loved him. I told myself he was just a confused child. I never blamed him. But this time, I had no need for an ungrateful nephew. Across the living room, Gannett was still wrapped in my mother's arms. Weeping, I sat on the sofa, watching Theo. Theo, cut it, I asked gently. You don't want Aunt Gannett to leave, do you? He nodded anxiously. Despite everything, I gave him one last chance. But didn't you tell me before that you didn't like Aunt Gannett? Theo licked his lips, as though savoring the memory of fried chicken, then smiled. I changed my mind. Aunt Gannett is really nice to me. I like her now. Across the room, my mother and Gannett both heard him. Mom immediately said to her, See? Who said Theo doesn't like you? You heard him, he said he likes you. But the reassurance only made Gannett cry harder. Mom, Theo and I are related by blood. I really do want to be a good aunt. But I'll never be as good as Eloan. I can't give Theo the best. Auntie. Auntie. Theo kept tugging at my arm. Pleading. Please, let Aunt Gannett stay. At that moment, all eyes turned to me. Their expression said it all, as if I were the one forcing her to leave. A fake daughter driving away the real one. How amusing. As if I ever had that kind of power. In my previous life, I had actually begged her to stay, promising everyone then I would return everything to Gannett, help her fit in, call her the true Eloan heiress, and be her sister for life. Looking back now, I was such a fool. That single act of kindness had marked the beginning of my exploitation. This time, I refused to play the envious, spiteful impostor. No more pretending gratitude while they milked me dry in the name of nurturing Grace. My father's stern voice broke my thoughts. Eloan, say something. I looked up, smiling faintly. Dad. You and Mom don't want Sister Gannett to leave. Theo doesn't want to lose his real aunt. Honestly, heading Graceful Xianxia. I agree, this is her home. She shouldn't have to go. He nodded, satisfied that I'd finally said something sensible. But I knew exactly what he and Mom were thinking. Gannett had been subtly implying that I disliked her. So they wanted me, the fake daughter, to be considerate and beg her to stay. Just like before, Gannett would stay. Only this time, I added softly, but if someone must leave, it should be me. Sister Gannett belongs here. I've taken her life for too long. Hearing my words, my mom panicked. Eloan. We agreed. Didn't we? Even if your sister comes back, you will always be my daughter. The Eloan family's precious daughter. That's right, the Eloan family still needed me. The family's precious daughter. Before Gannett came back, I was the face of the Eloan family. I had learned business and management from my grandfather and brother since I was young, demonstrating a sharp business mind. Later, I didn't graduate from college. But after my brother and sister-in-law both died in a car accident, my grandfather appointed me as the general manager. When he retired, I took over the company. As a result, I was not only the eldest daughter of the Eloan family, but also the president of the Eloan Corporation, holding the company's key connections and resources. Just by that alone, I was far ahead of Gannett, who couldn't even balance the books properly. At the time, no one knew I wasn't the Eloan family's biological daughter. The family had invested a lot in raising me. Now, I was in the prime of benefiting the Eloan family. To my parents, their biological daughter needed compensation. But this fake daughter had to be kept in check. In my past life, I had willingly worked for the Eloan family, enduring the company's crises, even drinking myself to the point of ruining my stomach at the dinner table. In the end, I received nothing good. And because of Gannett's manipulation, I was alienated by the Eloan family. But now I understood. I owed them for raising me. But I would no longer let myself be used willingly. So I was giving up my title as the Eloan family's daughter. I no longer wanted to be the general manager. As long as Gannett stopped scheming against me, I was willing to hand everything back to her and sever ties with the Eloan family. I would finally live for myself. Mom, Dad, I've made up my mind. Gannett is your biological daughter. I've occupied her place for too long. And it's time for me to leave. Let her stay with you and enjoy the time you missed as parents. I'll pack my things and leave right now. I know this sounded harsh, but I truly intended to leave. In this new life, I only had one thought: stay away from the Eloan family and cherish my life. I believed that as long as I didn't overstep, this fake daughter could still have a good ending. A few minutes later, just like Gannett, I came out of my room dragging a suitcase. That's when my parents finally realized I was serious. When I entered the living room, I opened the suitcase in front of everyone. Inside, there were just a few simple changes of clothes. I hadn't even packed a single luxury handbag or any expensive jewelry. It was almost like I was leaving with nothing. Dad, I'll stay at the company for a couple of days. When Grandpa returns from abroad, we'll call a board meeting. I'll formally step down as the general manager and prepare an agreement to transfer my shares to Gannett. My words were sincere. Whether it's the shares or the company, These things were always meant to be hers. My parents were stunned. And Ganet's crying stopped. She looked at me. Her eyes red. Confused. Though her intention had always been to drive me out of the Eloan family. She didn't expect me to leave so quickly. Not only was I leaving, but I was also leaving with my own means of escape. Roughly estimated, the company's crisis would reach its breaking point in less than 2 months. At that point, Grandpa would be so enraged he'd likely end up in the hospital. My parents wouldn't be able to help. And I, alone, would be holding up the Eloan family group. For years, I'd been either dealing with social obligations or heading off to deal with them, nearly losing my life in the process. I was the one who managed to steer the company back on track. Now, I was walking away. And it would be up to Ganet to see if she could manage the company by herself. As I walked out of the Eloan family villa with my suitcase, I felt an immense sense of relief. In my past life, once I learned that I was the fake daughter, I worked so hard to please everyone. And it was exhausting. In the end, I lost myself. This life, I was fine with being the fake daughter. Leaving the Eloan family, I realized I could live a better life. I never imagined, though, that just as I reached the company building, I'd run into Kale waiting for me. Kale, my boyfriend. We'd been together 4 or 5 years. Close and inseparable. It was time for us to talk about marriage. But in the previous life, once he found out I wasn't the real Eloan daughter, he immediately changed his heart. He kept up the facade of our relationship, but secretly he and Ganet had been conspiring to destroy me. According to the timeline of my past life, the real Eloan daughter had already returned for 2 months. By the time I went on a business trip, Kale and Ganet must have already been in cahoots. Eloan. Kale naturally took my suitcase from me. Eloan told me on the phone. Why are you being so difficult with Ganet? If she wants to leave the Eloan family, just ask her to stay. After all, you're sisters. Why make things so awkward? Ganet's a really good girl. She's been through a lot outside and is sensitive and insecure. If you do this, it'll just make her think you don't like her. I coldly interrupted him. I don't need her to think. I never liked her. In my past life, I had placed myself in the position of a thief, thinking that I had stolen Ganet's life. All the suffering she endured was because of me. And I owed her compensation. But when the hospital mixed us up at birth, I was just a baby. I was also a victim of a twisted life. Now, all I could do was give back what belonged to her. As for compensation, given what I'd learned from my past life, whoever wants to compensate her can do so. I just want to stay far away from these people. You don't like her, but it's because you wronged her. Everything you have belongs to her. She's the real Eloan family daughter. Kale took my hand, speaking in his usual gentle tone, starting his manipulative spiel. Eloan, I know you've been the Eloan family's eldest daughter for so long. It's natural to feel upset when someone comes to claim your parents. I understand. I also know you're hurt. But think about it, Ganet has been through so much. She suffered more than you can imagine. All she wants is to be reunited with her parents and have a happy family. You're such a kind person. So just give her a little space. Your uncle and aunt will still love you like they always have. Looking at Kale's face, I couldn't help but remember how, in the past life, he had pushed me into the sea to feed the fish. At that time, I loved him so much. But he betrayed me. He never loved me, he loved money. The guarantee of a lifetime of comfort. He was an orphan, raised in poverty. The only reason he approached me in the first place was because he accidentally learned that I was the heiress of the Eloan family. He wanted to skip 20 years of struggle. In my past life, I loved him so deeply that even when I knew the truth, I pretended not to. But now that I no longer love him, I can finally see how revolting his face truly is. No wonder he could end up with Ganet in the end. They were the same kind of people. Both shamelessly hypocritical. This time, I'll stay far, far away from him. I said I don't like Ganet. But you're still defending her. I guess that means you must like her quite a bit. Without hesitation, I broke up with him. If that's the case, go be with her. We're done. Kale's eyes widened in disbelief, as if he couldn't process what he'd just heard. In his mind, I had always loved him desperately. No matter who opposed us, I had fought for him, defied everyone until my grandfather finally gave in. How could I possibly be the one to suggest a breakup? Even if we were to separate, he'd make sure to stall for time after all. He hadn't drained me dry yet. Eloan. You don't mean that, he said softly, reaching for my hand. You're just upset, aren't you? I wasn't siding with Gunity, was trying to help you. Think about it. What good would come from you falling out with her? Your parents would be caught in the middle. Ganet's a good girl. And so are you. Why make things so tense? For a moment, I wondered if he'd lost his mind. I'm breaking up with you. And you're talking to me about Ganet? Even if you were still my boyfriend, which or not, you'd still have no right to meddle in my family affairs. I yanked my suitcase out of his hands. Kale. You said Ganet's a good girl? Fine. I'll let you go so you can chase after her. Let's end this peacefully. In my past life, this man had pushed me into the ocean to feed the fish. I had dreamed of revenge. But now, just standing near him made my skin crawl. He wasn't worth dirtying my hands over. So I walked away, leaving him frozen where he stood, too stunned to react. Back in the general manager's office, I immediately drafted a share transfer agreement and submitted my resignation to the board. I wanted everything done as fast as possible. Then I reviewed the company's financial data. The signs of a looming crisis were already there. I had to get out before I was dragged down again. When my grandfather, the chairman, received my resignation letter, he called at once, telling me not to act on impulse, that he'd stand by me once he returned the next day. Businessmen really are cunning. In my previous life, those same words had moved me to tears. This time, I saw them for what they were. My brother, the original heir of the Eloan group, was dead. My grandfather was old. My parents were useless. And I was the only one left holding the family together. Whether I was the real daughter or not didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was how much value I could still create. He wasn't coming back to stand by me. He just wanted to keep exploiting me for the family's benefit. I had to run. I'd already lost half my life for this company once. I'd rather die than repeat that mistake. But the next day, instead of my grandfather, I was greeted by Kale and a meticulously staged proposal. Kale had always held a department director position in the company thanks to me. His proposal sent a shockwave through the entire office. Employees from other departments even came to watch. I had only gone to the department for a meeting. But the moment I opened the door, I was hit with a wave of pink. The meeting room had been transformed into an absurdly romantic proposal scene. Maybe my breakup had scared him. This proposal came 6 months earlier than it had in my past life. He wanted to use marriage to bind me completely. To make me his possession. Eloan. Kale, dressed in a sharp suit and holding a bouquet, walked slowly toward me. I wanted to leave. But the staff blocked the door. There was no escape. Eloan. His voice was thick with false affection. After 1672 days of love, you told me yesterday you wanted to break up. Thinking about it carefully, maybe you were right. We should break up. Because after the breakup, we won't be lovers anymore. We'll be husband and wife. Marry me. Eloan. He knelt on one knee, presenting a ring. I don't care if you're really the Eloan heiress or not. I love you. Not your status. I'll cherish you forever. My princess. I took a step back. Nauseated. Now he claimed not to care about my identity. But in my past life, before our marriage, he'd made me buy a mansion with my own money and transfer 30 million to his account as dowry. Aside from my shares, that was all the cash I had left. Once he drained it, he'd shoved me into the sea without a hint of hesitation. Then, Madadawo sai. An idea struck me. I looked at the ring and curved my lips into a faint smile. Just enough for everyone present to see. All right, I said sweetly. Actually, I only broke up with you yesterday because I was worried you'd mind that I'm not really the Eloan heiress. I thought you'd stop benefiting from my family ties. But since you're proposing, I'll be honest with you, I've decided to resign as general manager and transfer all my shares to Ganet. She's the real daughter. After all, it's only right that I return everything to her. That means I'll have nothing left. But since you never cared about those things, let's get married anyway. You can take care of me. Just like you said you would keep me as your little princess. The room went silent. Kale hadn't known about my resignation or the share transfer. The moment I said I'd be penniless, I saw the smile on his face stiffen. He and Gannett had planned this together for my money. Nothing more. In my previous life, I'd clung to my shares for the company's sake, and he'd worn his mask for years. But now that I had nothing, could he still keep up the act? There's just one thing I want to make clear before the wedding, I continued. I don't want a single coin in bride price. But I also can't bring a single cent in dowry. As a fake heiress, I no longer have the right to live in the Eloan estate. Once I resign, I won't have company housing or income either. I'll need to move into our new home right away. I remember you once promised to buy me the best house money could buy. But honestly, having fulfilled my fantasies, it doesn't have to be big or expensive, just cozy. I'm easily content. And you also said you didn't want me working too hard after marriage. That you'd rather I stay home so you wouldn't miss me too much. I agree. After we get married, I'll quit working entirely. I'll focus on resting, take care of myself, and try to get pregnant soon. Then we'll live our happy little family life together. Kale's head was spinning. There was no dowry. He'd have to buy his own house. And after marriage, he'd have to support a stay-at-home wife with no income. For a moment, it felt like the sky was falling. This wasn't a marriage. It was a path to self-destruct. He had originally been attracted to my position and money. Now that I had nothing, why would he still want to marry me? I forced myself to keep the disgust in check and said, "All right, Kale. I agree to marry you. This proposal is so romantic. I almost wish we could get married right here and now," I continued, savoring the pale color draining from his face. "No. Marriage doesn't need a time or place. We don't even need a household registration book. How about we go to the Civil Affairs Bureau right now? I can't wait to become your wife." At my words, Kale trembled, feigning innocence. I said with a longing look, "Quick, let go. Put the ring on me. When we're young, we should be crazy in love. Grab your ID. Let's go register now." Kale forced himself to calm down. "No need to rush to register. I think we need to prepare a bit more." Feigning hurt, I raised my voice. "You're already proposing to me. Haven't you prepared enough?" "Yeah. If you haven't prepared, why propose?" I added. After all, it was because of me that he had become a director. I hadn't even resigned yet. And most of the people watching were still on my side. "Eloan, the president, has already agreed to your proposal. Why are you still hesitating? Could it be that your proposal isn't sincere and you're just playing games?" Playing games? Using Eloan's reputation to play games? A light, mocking voice cut in. And everyone turned to look at the speaker. It was a new intern. A straightforward person born after 2000. From the new generation of people cleaning up the workplace. I silently gave the intern a thumbs up. Kale's thoughts were exposed. And his face turned an even darker shade of humiliation. In fact, everyone in the company knew Kale was living off me. But no one dared to say it. Now that I was about to have nothing, he was finally going to reveal his true colors. "Oh," I said, pretending to understand. "So this is what you're worried about. Now that I have nothing, you're afraid to marry me." "It's not that," Kale hurriedly explained, trying to maintain his image. "I just think we can take it slow. After everything you've been through, it's not suitable to get married right away. Besides, you didn't even consult me about transferring your shares and resigning. I could have given you some advice. Marriage is about two families coming together. Your family's situation is too complicated. I'm sure I love you. But..." The more he explained, the worse it got. And I couldn't help but laugh. "Stop pretending. Pretending to love me must be exhausting. Right? Not long ago, while I was away on a business trip, you were already secretly getting close to the real Eloan. You really are quick to change masters." Kale snapped. "Eloan, what do you mean by this? I've treated you sincerely. And yet you're slandering me in front of all these people?" I let out a dry laugh and retorted. "You were already black as soot. What's the point of slandering you? I'm just wiping the dirt off my hands. With that, I took out my phone and sent a surveillance video to the company's 500-person group chat. In the video, Kale was kissing a woman in a long dress in the hallway of the company. Based on Kale's suggestive movements, anyone who believed there was nothing going on between them was either blind or pretending not to see it. The woman's face was blurred, but anyone paying attention could easily identify her based on her shape and clothes. It was Gannett. Recognizing, and making it public, were two different things. Some things were better left unsaid. And I had to preserve the Eloan family's dignity. If it completely broke down, it would be hard to pull away from them. The top right corner of the video showed the date. And the time of Kale's affair was indeed when I was away on a business trip. You scumbag. You kissed another woman. And you still come to propose to Eloan? How shameless. Kale stared at the video, clenching his fists. Eloan, hadn't so felt my incession. You're setting me up. I smiled. What do you mean by setting you up? Was I the one who cheated? I broke up with you peacefully yesterday and left you plenty of dignity. You came to propose today. And I just took advantage of the situation to expose your true face. The crowd was sharp-eyed. Everyone in the company had long been dissatisfied with this director who rose to power by relying on women. And now they began to condemn him. Scumbag. Shameless. Living off a woman. Eloan has been so good to you. And you still cheat? You should have your tongue cut out. And that stick between your legs chopped off. I laughed, feeling a sense of satisfaction. The false persona Kale had carefully maintained for so long crumbled overnight. In this life and the last, I had finally gotten my revenge. The feeling of retribution was liberating. I had helped him. Now that his underground affair with Gannett was exposed, he could finally pursue his real Eloan. I was also a victim. In front of so many people, I didn't forget to play the martyr. I deliberately said in a pitiful voice, Kale, I've been with you for 4.5 years. Your family wasn't well off. And I carefully maintained your pride. Since sophomore year, I've been paying your tuition, giving you living expenses, buying you sneakers, giving you a Rolex. After graduation, I fought with my family, insisting on being with you. I even opened a path for you at the company, helping you become a director. I thought we'd be together forever. But I was wrong from the start. You didn't love me. You loved my money. Consider it my blindness. 4.5 years of youth thrown away. The money I spent on you was like it was stolen. From now on, let's part ways. Peacefully. After I finished, tears threatened to fall as I turned to leave. Behind me, a crowd was still shouting. Many were standing up for me. Eloan, don't let that scumbag get away so easily. Make that scumbag pay back the money. He should pay the price. Kick this shameless person out of the company. I walked back to the general manager's office. It felt so good Kale was done. And now, the next target was Gannett. Grandfather, the chairman, had returned from abroad. Since I refused to return to the Eloan family, he held a meeting with all the Eloan family members in the company's senior reception room. In front of grandfather and my Eloan family parents, I handed the printed share transfer agreement to Gannett. Gannett, sister, all you need to do is sign here. And this 35 of the shares will be returned to you. Gannett started crying again. Looking pitiful. Her tears like rain on a spring flower. Eloan, Kale is your boyfriend. I never meant to steal him from you. I wasn't feeling well that day. I was so dizzy. And it was Kale who tempted me. The kiss was initiated by him. I didn't even know what happened. I just found myself in his arms. But I swear, it was just a kiss. Nothing more. Thank you for covering for me. I knew you were the kindest person. I'm not in a position to ask for your forgiveness. But I do apologize for what I did. If you want any kind of compensation, I'll do my best to make it right. No need. I shook my head. What's mine is yours. Even my boyfriend can be yours. Since you've kissed him. If you like Kale, then go ahead and be with him. If you don't like him, kick him to the curb. It's none of my business anymore. Just sign the share agreement and take back what's rightfully yours. The property deeds under my name are already in the process of being transferred. From now on, You'll be the only true lady of the Eloan family. I was about to escape. The company's latest investment had increased leverage, raising the risks substantially. If anything went wrong, it would trigger a major business crisis. In my past life, I had worked myself to the bone trying to solve such crises. But this time, I was getting out fast. Even if the company went bankrupt, I wouldn't let it touch me. Grandfather spoke sharply. Eloan, stop this nonsense. Grandfather, I'm not causing trouble. I've made myself clear. These things belonged to Gannett from the start. I've kept them for 23 years. And now it's time to return them to the rightful owner. As for the general manager position, I'm not truly the Eloan family daughter. And I'm not qualified to inherit the Eloan family group. That's why I officially submitted my resignation yesterday. And I hope the board will approve it. Even if the board didn't approve, I could leave right away. I said it this way to spare grandfather's pride. Grandfather, please, just let me go. I held his hand, softening my tone. I want to compensate Gannett the way my parents would, but there's only so much I can do. This is the best way I know to make things right. My father looked at me. Are you sure about this? I spoke with sincerity. I'm absolutely sure. I won't regret it. He turned to Gannett. Gannett, your sister means well. Just sign the agreement. Gannett played her part well, signing the paper while crying and trembling. Okay. The shares were hers now. I was free. Then out. I eagerly asked. Grandfather, what about my resignation? Grandfather's face darkened. I don't approve of your resignation. You were raised by me. And even if you leave, you need to help me train Gannett. I inwardly sneered. These were the same words he'd used in my past life. Treating me like a servant. Whenever Gannett's deals fell through, I had to apologize. When she ruined projects, I had to fix them. Gannett had no business sense. And I was the one cleaning up all her messes. Why should I have to continue? I wasn't doing it anymore. Grandfather, Gannett is very smart. She doesn't need me to train her. She's the legitimate heir of the company, with the same blood running to her veins as yours. Your business genes are in her. I believe she'll do better than I ever could. This was how you flatter someone to their death. Gannett had only been with the company for a month and a half. I'd worked my secretary to the bone to help her close a $15 million deal just to impress grandfather. And now she really thought she had a knack for business. Grandfather also thought the deal was hers. He hesitated. Gannett, are you sure you can do it? Seeing her confidence grow, Gannett quickly rallied herself. Grandfather, I'd like to give it a try. Grandfather pondered for a moment. And I'll start you off as a department manager. Eloan, your position remains unchanged for now. Gannett bit her lip, clearly displeased. So I quickly added. Grandfather. No. Gannett is the legitimate heir. The company will eventually pass into her hands. Being a department manager would be a waste of her talents. Just let her take over my position. That way, I can rest easy. Afterward, I even gave my parents a look, signaling them to help me persuade grandfather. With one final push, I successfully resigned. And Gannett became the new general manager. As soon as the board's appointment notice was made public, I wasted no time vacating the office, completing the handover, and leaving as fast as I could. It was the same as when I left the Eloan family villa, leaving without a thing. The only asset I had left was a salary card, holding my years of accumulated wages, about $1 million, which I took with grandfather's permission. To the Eloan family, this wasn't much, but it was all I had to survive on. I took it with a clear conscience. Since I was 18, I'd been working for the Eloan family while attending university. 5 years of hard work, that was my rightful compensation. After resigning, I immediately fled abroad, to the outside world. It seemed like a tragic story of the real daughter returning, and the fake daughter being cast aside, but only I knew the truth. I was free. The air of freedom was so sweet. I went to the UK, and my British sister, Grace, was very supportive. She arranged for me to work in her company. It wasn't glamorous, but at least I was working for myself. 2 months later, I received news from the Eloan family. As expected, the business crisis had occurred. And it was even worse than I imagined. Due to Gannett's poor management, the company's financial chain had broken early. The accumulated debt had reached $2.5 billion, 500 million more than the previous year. In my past life, I had worked tirelessly to fill the $2 billion gap. I couldn't count how many times I attended drinking parties and struck business deals to stabilize the company. Now, it was clear that Gannett didn't have the ability. As expected, grandfather, in a fit of anger, ended up in the hospital. But unexpectedly, my parents were taken away by the police. Upon further investigation, it was discovered that Gannett, using my parents' names, had been engaging in loan schemes, and their personal debts had already reached $100 million. What was even more terrifying was that the tax authorities uncovered that Gannett had colluded with the company's finance department to falsify accounts. I felt a wave of panic upon hearing this. Thankfully, in my previous life, I had been vigilant about the company's finances. Otherwise, I too might have ended up behind bars because of her fraudulent books. Undoubtedly, the Eloan family group could no longer be saved. In my previous life, I discovered it early enough to prevent the worst. But this time, with the tax authorities involved, even I had no solution. Grandpa, unwilling to let go, was still worrying about the company in the ICU. He asked me to come and see him. I knew his time was running out, and as his granddaughter, I went to see him one last time. He held my hand and handed me an agreement. He insisted that I must save the subsidiary that he fully owned, as the subsidiary was innocent. In the agreement, Grandpa transferred all the shares of the subsidiary to me. All I had to do was sign, and the subsidiary would be mine. However, the condition was that I had to do everything in my power to save his son and granddaughter. I refused. I no longer had any obligation to work for the Eloan family. I had been thriving at Grace's company. Without this subsidiary, I could still support myself. But I promised him that I would try to gather evidence proving that it was Gannett who took out the loans, and that her actions had nothing to do with my parents. This would spare my parents from prison. Perhaps this was my final way of repaying the Eloan family for their kindness. Later on, the Eloan family group declared bankruptcy. The subsidiary was sold off at a low price, and the Eloan family members were left deep in debt, with all their assets liquidated to pay for it. Gannett was sentenced to 4 years and 3 months for falsifying accounts and evading taxes. Grandpa passed away, and my little nephew was taken by his maternal grandparents. The once glorious Eloan family was no more. The irony was that they still believed I was the one who caused all of this. What did I do to harm them? The company had been ruined by Gannett. I didn't try to save it as I had in my previous life. Did I deserve to be blamed for that? But I didn't care anymore. I had repaid the Eloan family's kindness in full. It was time for me to return to the UK and embrace my new life. 3 years later, Grace said she was coming to China for a trip and asked me to be her free tour guide. That wild girl couldn't stand not going out all night. When I received her call, I went to the bar to pick her up. When I pushed open the private room door, I saw 2 male models spinning around her. She was so happy, throwing money all over the place. And, by coincidence, one of those male models was Kale. After we broke up, Kale saw that Gannett had become the general manager, and immediately became the true Eloan's loyal dog. Gannett treated him quite well. Later, when Gannett went to prison and Kale lost his stable income, he developed a penchant for spending money. His savings quickly dried up, so he turned to this line of work, hoping to hook another rich girl with his charm. Unfortunately, his looks were mediocre, and among his colleagues, he was far from outstanding. He had to rely on selling drinks and various dips to make a living, perhaps due to drinking a bit too much. Kale, emboldened, opened his collar and provocatively whistled at me. "Eloan, 30,000. And the night's all yours. You won't regret it. Dare to take me up on it?" "No thanks." I helped the drunk Grace to her feet and smiled. 30,000? You can't even pay me to go near you. It's too dirty. Later, after I had returned to the UK for several months, I inadvertently heard about Kale's latest adventure. Apparently, having fulfilled Xianxia, Kale had hooked up with a beautiful young woman at the bar. However, her husband caught them in the act and, with a group of bodyguards, beat him half to death. Not only was he kicked out of the bar, but nobody knew where he had disappeared to. I felt a bit regretful. I had hoped that when Gennett got out of prison, the two of them might rekindle their old flame. After all, in the previous life, they had been locked in that doomed cycle, but at least they didn't go on to hurt anyone else. Recently, Grace's Chinese had improved drastically, and she had developed a fascination with Chinese online novels. One day, she jokingly said to me, "Eloan, I've read so many stories about fake and real rich daughters. In almost every case, the real one wins in the end, while the fake one gets what's coming to her. But why is your story the exception?" "There's no exception," I said seriously. "Then you must be the fake one? Whether fake or real, the core of the story doesn't change. Good people get good endings, and bad people get their comeuppance." She smiled and kissed me on the cheek. "So, my Eloan baby may be a fake rich girl, but she's still a good person." I thought about it carefully. I wouldn't exactly call myself a good person, but I've never tried to harm anyone. I know that. Grace raised her hand. "There's an old Chinese saying, don't harbor ill intentions toward others." "Right. Don't have ill intentions toward others. Don't aim to be a saint. But never be a villain either." So, even if you're not the real rich girl, you deserve a good ending." I smiled. Finally, heading so felt my sigh. In this life, I was free from the shadow of being a fake rich girl. I would cherish my life and make the most of it. In the 8th year since I married into the Lucian family, I finally felt like I could die. Blood stained the delivery bed. The child was lost, and I was about to lose my own life. Lucien wasn't by my side. He was in the next courtyard, with his beloved Leela. I heard Leela was about to give birth to roughly around the same time as me. What a coincidence. I used my last breath to see if Lucien would come. There were footsteps outside, and I thought it was him. But it was Leela who pushed the door open. Her belly big, her face full of pride. "Sister, are you going to die?" She smiled innocently. "Then Brother Lucien will only have me from now on." I widened my eyes, wanting to say something, but only blood bubbles came out of my throat. "Sister, don't stare at me like that." Leela squatted beside me, whispering in my ear, "Did you know? Brother Lucien said he only married you because of the Alara family's influence. The one he truly loves has always been me. And also," her voice sweet to the point of disgust, "the child in your belly actually. I had someone put something in your medicine. Did you think it was just a shaky pregnancy?" My tears dried up, but hatred surged like a tide. Leela stood up and gently caressed her belly. "My child will be the legitimate heir of the Lucien family. And you, Lee, you're just a miserable stepping stone." She walked to the door and glanced back at me. "Oh, I forgot to tell you, Brother Lucien knows you're dying. But he said he can't bear to see you suffer. So he let me come to send you off." The door slammed shut. I was left alone in the room, with blood all over the bed. I closed my eyes, my heart desolate. "Lucien, I hate you. Leela, I hate you too. If there is a next life, I will never love you. You heartless monster." Suddenly, I opened my eyes. Before me was a lush garden. Not the bloody delivery room. Not Leela's triumphant smile. I was sitting on a stone bench, holding a white jasmine flower. This place too. The Alara family's back garden? "Alara, what's wrong? You look terrible." A familiar voice came from behind. I stiffly turned my head. Lucien was walking slowly towards me, wearing a moon-white robe, gentle and elegant, his brows furrowed with concern. This face once made me fall deeply in love and also caused me unbearable pain. "Alara?" He squatted in front of me, reaching out to touch my forehead. "Are you feeling unwell?" I instinctively recoiled, and the jasmine flower in my hand fell to the ground. Lucien paused, a flicker of hurt in his eyes. Looking at the flower on the ground, memories suddenly flooded my mind. 15 years ago in the Ming era, the Spring Flower Festival, I was 16. That was the day Lucien and I first met. I had been reborn. Back to the beginning of everything. Alara. You. Lucien's voice hesitated, as if observing my reaction. I looked up at him. His handsome face had none of the later scheming or coldness. Only youthful innocence and sincerity. But I already knew how fake that sincerity was. Lucien. I stood up. My tone cold. What do you want? Lucien was clearly taken aback. The gentleness in his eyes grew deeper. Alara. You seem strange today. Did I do something wrong? Do something wrong? Lucien. You did so many wrong things. You lied to me that you only loved me, but went to Leela behind my back. You promised to grow old with me but chose her when I was at death's door. You made me think I was the happiest woman in the world. Then pushed me into hell with your own hands. No, I said lightly. I just think we're not compatible. Lucien's expression instantly changed. He suddenly stood up. Not compatible? Alara. What are you saying? Yesterday you said. What did I say yesterday? I interrupted. A sarcastic smile curling on my lips. That I liked you? That I was willing to marry you? Lucien nodded vigorously, having fulfilled my sigh. Eyes urgent. Yes, having fulfilled my sigh. You said that. Alara. You can't go back on your word. Seeing him like this made me sick to my stomach. In my past life, I was deceived by his tender appearance. Falling helplessly for him. I married him for 8 years and was left broken. Thinking he loved me. Only on my deathbed. When Leela said those things. Did I realize how ridiculous I had been? Lucien. I said slowly and clearly. I've changed my mind. I don't love you. And I won't marry you. Forget it. Lucien's face completely changed from shock to confusion. Then an emotion I couldn't describe. He quietly looked at me for a long time before speaking. Alara. Are you really sure? His voice was soft but inexplicably made me uneasy. That tone somehow resembled the calculating and deep Lucien from my past life. I suppressed my doubts and nodded coldly. Very sure. Lucien suddenly smiled. A somewhat bitter smile. Good, good? Very good. He turned to leave but suddenly looked back. Alara. You'll regret this. Watching his figure disappear into the depths of the garden. I felt no regret, only an unprecedented relief. This time, I will never love you again. Lucien. Our story ends here. But what I didn't expect was that this was only the beginning. A more painful beginning. The days after rejecting Lucien were unexpectedly peaceful. I thought he would pester me. Beg me to change my mind like before. But he didn't. It was as if he truly gave up and never appeared in front of me again. Instead, Leela began to show up frequently. Alara. Sister. I heard you rejected Lucien? She sat opposite me. Holding a teacup. Her eyes brimming with unhidden pride. Still that innocent face. Still that frail and pitiful appearance. Looking at her. I remembered what she said to me before she died and felt a surge of disgust. So what if I did? I answered coldly. Leela bit her lip. Hesitant. Actually, Lucien visits me every day now. He said you didn't want him and asked if I'd be willing to marry him. She said this with the shy look of a young girl. But the pride in her eyes was impossible to hide. I put down my teacup and looked at her calmly. And what did you say? I said I'd think about it. Leela lowered her head. After all, Lucien was supposed to marry you first. Would it be wrong for me to take your place? Fake. Keep pretending. In my past life, you weren't like this at all. You begged me to let you to be together. Crying about true love. Saying you two were a perfect match. I was soft-hearted and actually let you have him. What did I get in return? 8 years of pain. The humiliation right before death. Leela. I suddenly said. My voice cold as ice. If you want to marry him. Then marry him. Why ask me? I'm nothing to Lucien. Leela was stunned. Apparently not expecting my response. According to the script of my past life, I should have been miserable. Regretful. Trying to win Lucien back. But I wasn't. Not even a ripple stirred inside me. Sister. Are you really not bothered? Leela asked cautiously. I'm not. I stood up. You two love each other, what does that have to do with me? I turned and left. Behind me. Leela's voice sounded urgent. Sister. Wait. I didn't look back. This time, I won't fall into your traps again. Love however you want. I just want to stay far away from you. Walking out of the flower hall, I ran into my cousin Thorn. Alara. Why do you look so bad? Thorn came up to me. His brows furrowed with concern. Seeing him made a warm feeling rise inside me. In my past life, he was the one who silently protected me. After I married Lucienne, he never married, saying he wanted to take care of the Alara family. But I knew he was waiting for me to come back. At that time, I only had eyes for Lucienne and ignored Thorn's kindness. Even when I died, Thorn was still kneeling outside the door, begging Lucienne to let him see me one last time. Lucienne refused. Cousin, I whispered. Smiling. I'm fine. Thorn was surprised. I rarely called him cousin so tenderly. Really fine. He looked worried. I heard you rejected Lucienne? I nodded. Alara. You? Thorn hesitated. Then sighed. Well, as long as you're happy. Cousin. I suddenly asked. If one day I want to leave Jing City, will you go with me? Thorn's eyes brightened instantly. He nodded firmly. Yes, heading fulfilled my obsession. Of course. Alara. Wherever you want to go, I'll go with you. Seeing him so excited made me feel guilty. I owed him so much from my past life. This time, I'll make it up to him. And it's settled. I reached out my hand. Pinky promise. Thorn hesitated. Then smiled and linked his pinky with mine. It's a promise. At that moment, a cold voice came from behind. What a heartwarming scene. I turned around. Lucienne was standing not far off. His eyes filled with emotions I couldn't read. When did he get here? How much did he hear? Lucienne. Thorn stepped in front of me cautiously. Lucienne ignored him, fixing his gaze on me. Alara. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. I answered coldly. Really nothing? Lucienne suddenly smiled. And that smile made me uneasy. Then get ready for the trouble the Alara family is about to face. What does that mean? Thorn's expression changed. Lucienne. What do you mean? Lucienne didn't respond. He just gave me a deep look, then turned and walked away. Watching his back, a strong sense of unease welled up in my heart. In the previous life, Lucienne was cold but never actively harmed the Alara family. Could things really be different in this life? Alara. Little sister? Thorn looked at me worriedly. Are you okay? Just as I was about to speak, a servant came running over in a panic. Miss. Something terrible has happened. Master wants you to return at once, he says it's urgent. Thorn and I exchanged glances, both feeling a growing dread. Could it be? Lucienne had already started his retaliation? When we returned to the front hall, my father Julian was pacing back and forth, his face dark as thunder. When he saw me come in, he turned sharply. Alara. Tell me clearly, what exactly did you do to offend Lucienne? My heart sank. As expected, Lucienne had started his revenge. Father. What happened? Julian gave me a long, deep look and handed me a letter. See for yourself. I took the letter and opened it. My face instantly went pale. It was a formal letter of impeachment, accusing the Alara family of embezzling military funds and colluding with the enemy. It was signed by Lucienne. My hands trembled. In my past life, the Alara family had remained safe and secure until after my death, when it began to decline. In this life, just because I rejected him, Lucienne was going to destroy my entire family? Alara. My father's voice was heavy. Tell me honestly, what exactly happened between you and Lucienne? I bit my lip and briefly explained the events of the past few days, of course, omitting the part about being reborn. After hearing it, Julian's face dark and even more. Foolish. How could you treat Lucienne like that? The Lucienne family holds enormous power in court, and Lucienne himself is highly trusted by the emperor. Offending him, or are you trying to kill us all? His words cut into me like a knife. In my past life, my father had always doted on me. He'd never spoken so harshly before. But now, for the sake of the family, he had no choice but to scold me. Father. You what? Julian snapped. Go find Lucienne immediately. Apologize. Beg him to withdraw the impeachment. If not, the Alara family is finished. I lowered my head, a bitter taste rising in my mouth. Was I truly still unable to escape Lucien's control in this life? Alara. Thorn said softly beside me. Maybe you should go see Lucien. See if there's a way to make peace? I looked up at my cousin, his eyes were filled with worry and guilt. He didn't want me to go either. But for the family's sake, for the family's sake, he had to say it. I nodded. I understand. I'll go find him now. The gates of the Lucien estate looked more imposing than ever. I stood outside for a long time, hesitating. Memories from my past life surged forward. Back then, Lucien had been so gentle. Every time he saw me, he smiled with warmth in his eyes. He said he loved me. Said he would marry me. Grow old with me. And I believed him. I truly believed him. But in the end, he chose Leela. And I died in a pool of blood. Miss. Lucien is waiting in the study. The butler's voice pulled me back to reality. I took a deep breath and followed him inside. In the study, Lucien was writing. Hearing footsteps, he looked up at me expressionless. You're here? Lucien. I went straight to the point. Why did you impeach my father? Lucien set his pen down and slowly stood up. Why? He gave a faint chuckle. Alara. Why do you think? What did the Alara family ever do to you? Your family did nothing. Lucien replied, towering over me. You are the one who offended me. I looked up at him, anger rising in my chest. So just because I rejected you, you want to destroy my entire family? Lucien. Are you even human? Lucien's gaze suddenly turned dangerous. Alara. Watch your words. I gave you a chance. You didn't cherish it. I let out a cold laugh. What chance? To marry you and suffer for 8 more years like in the last life? As soon as I said it, I regretted it. Lucien's face changed instantly. He grabbed my shoulders hard. What did you say? The last life? I was done for. I'd slipped up. Lucien's expression turned complicated, shocked, confused, with something else I couldn't name. Alara. You were reborn too? What? He was reborn too? Our eyes locked. The air seemed to freeze. After a long while, Lucien released me, a bitter smile appearing on his face. So that's it. That's why. You were reborn too. That's why you rejected me. Why you've been so cold. Because you remember how I wronged you in the past. I looked at him, emotions swirling in my heart. So he had been reborn too. Did that mean he remembered everything that happened? Did he know how I died? Did he know what Leela did to me? Lucien. I asked softly. Do you remember everything from before? Lucien nodded, pain flickering in his eyes. I remember it all. I remember how I failed you. I remember how you died. I remember how much I regretted it. Hearing that, my heart surged with conflicting emotions. He regretted it? He knew he was wrong? Alara. Lucien suddenly dropped to his knees. I know I wronged you in the last life. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But please, give me a chance to make it up to you. This time, I won't let you suffer again. Seeing Lucien kneeling on the ground, filled with remorse, I was overwhelmed. In the past, he'd been proud and aloof, never once would he kneel. And now, he was kneeling for me? My heart began to waver. What if he truly had changed? What if he really wanted to treat me well this time? After all, we had once been so deeply in love. I almost gave in. Seeing him kneel there with such genuine pain in his eyes, I nearly believed his words. But then, a familiar voice came from outside the door. Lucien. Are you in there? It was Leela. Lucien's expression changed instantly. He stood up in a hurry and turned to me. Alara. Hide please. Hide? Why should I hide? If he had truly changed, why couldn't he let Leela know I was here? I didn't move. I just looked at him coldly. Lucien grew anxious. Alara. I beg you. Just hide for now. I don't want her to misunderstand. Misunderstand what? That he was pleading with me? That he still loved me? In that moment, I understood. Even after being reborn, Lucien was still Lucien. He wanted me. But he couldn't let go of Leela. He wanted to have both. The door opened. And Leela walked in. When she saw me, she paused. Then gave a sweet smile. Alara, you're here too? Her gaze flicked between me and Lucienne. A glint of cunning flashing in her eyes. Lucienne, what are you two talking about? Lucienne's expression grew unnatural. Nothing, Lisa, just business matters. Business? I let out a cold laugh. Yes, having fulfilled my obsession. Business indeed. Lucienne just knelt before me. Saying he wants to make it up to me. Promised to treat me well. A strange kind of business. Isn't it? Leela's face changed instantly. She looked at me. Then at Lucienne. Lucienne, what's going on? Lucienne shot me a glare. Then turned to Leela. Leela, you're misunderstanding. I just what? Leela cut him off. Tears welling up in her eyes. Lucienne, do you still love Alara? Are you going to leave me? Lucienne clearly softened at her tears. He walked to her and gently stroked her cheek. Leela, Elosai. Don't be silly. I'd never leave you. The one I love is you. It's always been you. Hearing that, I felt sick. In our past life, he said the same to me. That he loved only me. That he'd never leave. But then he went right back to Leela's arms. Lucienne. Leela sobbed. Then why did you kneel to Alara? Do you want to go back to her? Lucienne shook his head in a panic. No, Leela. Let me explain. It's just because of Alara's family. What about her family? Leela asked innocently. Did something happen to them? Lucienne nodded. Yes. Her family is in trouble. I was just discussing a way to help. I knelt out of guilt. Guilt? I almost laughed. Lucienne. Your acting skills haven't improved one bit. But Leela bought it. The tears vanished from her eyes. Oh, I see. She breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at me, an edge of smugness in her eyes. Alara. Did something happen at your home? Do you need my help? Looking at her fake concern. Rage surged in my chest. In our past life, she'd done the same, pretending to care while secretly plotting against me. You want to act? Fine. I'll play along. Nothing serious. I said flatly. Lucienne just thinks my family's involved in some misconduct and plans to impeach my father. Leela feigned shock and covered her mouth. What? Impeachment? That's terrible. Then she turned to Lucienne. Her eyes full of false concern. Brother Lucienne. Such a big trouble has happened to Alara's family. You must help her. After all, you grew up together since childhood. She's like your sister. Sister? I looked coldly at Leela. Her words were cleverly crafted, showing off her own kindness and magnanimity, while hinting to Lucienne not to have any improper thoughts about me. Lucienne clearly caught the implication in her words and looked a little uncomfortable. Leela, you're overthinking. Alara and I. What's the matter? Leela tilted her head, putting on an innocent look. Brother Lucienne, didn't you say that Alara is like your sister? You would take care of her for life. Now that she's in trouble, of course you should help her. Lucienne was left speechless by her words. Watching this scene, I suddenly understood. Even after reincarnation, Lucienne hadn't completely let go of Leela. He wanted me, but he also couldn't give her up. He thought he could have it both ways, letting us coexist peacefully. How naive. I had already seen through their game. Leela is right. I suddenly spoke, my voice full of sarcasm. Lucienne should indeed take care of his little sister. After all, you grew up together and share a deep bond. Lucienne caught the sarcasm in my words and his expression darkened. Leela still played innocent. Yes, Pezzy too. Yes, Elish, you two are so close. I'm even a bit jealous. She said, then suddenly clapped her hands as if she remembered something. By the way, Brother Lucienne, I heard Delara has been getting close to her cousin lately. You think, could they? She didn't finish. But the implication was clear. Lucienne's face instantly turned grim. I looked at the two of them, feeling disgusted, one pretending innocence, the other feigning deep affection. What a perfectly matched pair. So what if it's true? I said coldly. What do my relationship with my cousin have to do with you? Leela blinked innocently. I mean no offense. Just that. Cousins being too close might be inappropriate. People might gossip. You know. Lucien clenched his fists tightly, veins bulging. Seeing him like this, a sense of revenge stirred in me. Leela is right, I deliberately said. But my cousin and I have already decided to leave the capital and start anew. That way, there will be no more gossip. Lucien suddenly looked up at me, his eyes full of fury, almost ready to explode. Alara, how dare you? I smiled brightly. Why wouldn't I dare? Lucien, didn't you say I was like your sister? If your little sister elopes with her lover, shouldn't the brother bless them? Lucien was so angry he was speechless. Leela laughed secretly beside him, thinking her plan had succeeded, but she didn't know I had seen through everything. This life. I won't be fooled by her again. After leaving the Lucien family, I thought I could finally be free. But I underestimated Lucien's determination. Early the next morning, the Alara family was surrounded by soldiers. Julian, Midari Losai. You are accused of embezzling military funds and colluding with the enemy. Come with us. The lead officer said coldly. My father's face went pale, but he tried to stay calm. Sir. There must be some misunderstanding. Misunderstanding or not, you'll find out in the dungeon. The officer cut him off and tried to take him away. Wait. I rushed out and stood in front of my father. This is aimed at me. Why harass my father? The lead officer glanced at me and sneered. Miss Alara. You're mistaken. We only deal with evidence. What evidence? Thorn came out angrily and demanded. The soldiers pulled out a stack of documents. These are proof of Julian's embezzlement and letters of collusion with the enemy. The evidence is ironclad. What is there to argue? I took the documents and my heart instantly sank. These proofs were too perfect. Perfectly forged. So that ordinary people could never spot the flaws. Lucien. He had prepared all this. Alara. My father whispered in my ear. Go beg Lucien. Only he can save us. I clenched my teeth, my heart full of pain. Beg him again? Bow to him again? Cousin. Thorn held my hand. I will go with you. I shook my head. Cousin, let out a low sigh. This is my matter. I will handle it myself. Watching my father being taken away, guilt overwhelmed me. It was all because of me that the Alara family suffered such a disaster. Lucien. You are truly ruthless. You know what I care about most. So you used it to threaten me. I came back to the Lucien family again. This time without hesitation. And walked straight inside. In the study, Lucien was leisurely sipping tea. When he saw me enter, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. You're here? I knelt down directly. Lucien, Lucien. I beg you. Please release my father. Lucien put down his cup and slowly approached me. Beg me? He chuckled lightly. Yesterday you wanted to elope with Thorn, right? Now you know to beg me? I lowered my head. Silent. Lucien squatted down and lifted my chin with his hand. Alara. Do you think you can run away? This life. You are destined to be mine. I looked up at him, my eyes full of fury. Lucien. What do you want? I want you. He said without hiding anything. To come back to me. This life. I won't let you leave me again. I sneered. Even if you imprison my body, you won't have my heart. Lucien's eyes grew dangerous. Heart? He sneered. Your heart was with me last life. Yet you still died. This life. I only want your body. Hearing this, a great sorrow welled up inside me. Last life. Lucien was heartless, but at least he pretended to love me. This life. He didn't even pretend. He only wanted my body, not my heart. If I agree to come back, will you release my father? Lucien nodded. Of course. I keep my word. And Leela? I suddenly asked. Lucien hesitated. What? If I come back, what about Leela? Do you still want her? Lucien was silent for a while. Then said, Leela is innocent. I can't betray her. I laughed until tears came. Lucien. You really are greedy. Wanting both me and her. Do you think you're an emperor? Lucien's face turned unnatural. Alara. You misunderstand. I just what? I interrupted him. Just can't let her go? Just want to have it both ways? Lucien. Do you take me for what? A concubine in your harem? Lucien's expression completely darkened. Alara. Don't refuse the wine only to drink the penalty wine. Do you think you still have a choice? I looked at him. Despair swelling in my chest. Do I still have a choice? My father is in the dungeon. The Alara family faces ruin. I can only be at Lucien's mercy. I agree. I finally said. My voice hoarse. But I have one condition. Lucien squinted. What condition? I can marry you. But Leela must lead the capital. I don't want to see her. Lucien was silent for a long time. Then finally nodded. Fine. I agree. But Alara. Remember. This is your own choice. My own choice? I smiled bitterly. Threatened. Forced. Can this be called a choice? What else can I do? No choice but to compromise. I understand. I stood up. My tone cold. When is the wedding? Lucien looked at me with complicated emotions. In 3 days. 3 days? So soon? My father. On the wedding day. I will release him. Lucien promised. I nodded and turned to leave. Walking out of the Lucien family. I felt like a walking corpse. Last life. I married Lucien for love. This life. I was forced. Fate is truly ironic. On the day of the wedding. It rained heavily in the capital. They say it's bad luck to marry on a rainy day. But I no longer cared. My fate had long since been destined for misfortune. The long bridal procession was especially desolate in the rain. I sat in the bridal sedan. My heart dead with despair. Lucien had kept his promise. My father had been released just the day before. All charges were dropped. As if nothing had ever happened. The power of influence. Truly terrifying. Bride. We've arrived. The carrier's voice pulled me from my thoughts. The Lucien estate was festively decorated with lanterns and banners. Full of celebration. But I couldn't feel a trace of joy. Lucien, dressed in bright red wedding robes, looked as handsome as ever. He lifted my veil. His eyes filled with an emotion I couldn't read. Alara. He said softly. From this day forward. You are my wife. I didn't reply, just looked at him coldly. During the ceremony. I moved mechanically through each ritual. First bow to the heavens and earth. Second to the elders. Third to each other as husband and wife. Each bow felt like I was burying my freedom. At the wedding banquet. Lucien toasted the guests. A satisfied smile on his face. I sat at the head table with a stiff smile. While my heart bled. Congratulations. Lucien. For winning such a beauty. Miss Alara, it is absolutely stunning. You two are a match made in heaven. May you have children soon and grow old together. The guests' blessings came one after another. But to me, they sounded like mockery. A match made in heaven? Grow old together? If they knew how Lucien had forced me into this marriage, would they still say that? After the banquet, the guests gradually left. I was sent back to the bridal chamber. The room was lit with tall red candles. The walls covered with the character for double happiness. But I felt no warmth at all. I sat on the bed, waiting for Lucien to arrive. In my past life, I had looked forward to our wedding night. This time, I felt only fear and disgust. The door opened. Lucien entered. He had changed out of his wedding robes and now wore a moon-white gown. Alara. He approached me and reached out to touch my cheek. I instinctively dodged. His hand froze in midair. His face darkening. Alara. We are husband and wife now. Are we? I sneered. Then what about Leela? When is she leaving the capital? Lucien's expression worsened. Alara. It's our wedding night. Can we not talk about someone else? Someone else? I stood up, glaring at him. Lucien, Wefien. Is she really someone else to you? Then why can't you let her go? Lucien said nothing. Looking at his face. Disappointment surged within me. You lied to me. I said. Voice trembling. You never planned to make her leave. Alara. Lucien. Do you know? I cut him off. Tears beginning to fall. In our last life. It was also on our wedding night that I discovered your true nature. You only married me to use the Alara family's power. The one you truly loved was always Leela. And now? You're no different. You want me. And you want her too. You want everything. Lucien's face twisted with anger. Alara. That's not true. Not true? I laughed coldly. Then tell me. Where is Leela now? Lucien said nothing. Looking at his expression, despair swallowed me whole. She's in the courtyard next door. Isn't she? You arranged for her to live as close to us as possible. So you could visit her anytime. His silence was all the confirmation I needed. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. Lucienne. You're so clever. You want me as your wife to bear your children. And her as your confidant to share your romantic whims. Why not just be emperor while you're at it? Lucienne suddenly exploded with rage and grabbed my shoulders. Enough. Alara. Don't push your luck. Marrying you was already my greatest compromise. Do you really think you deserve to be compared to Leela? She's the one I love. And you. He didn't finish. But the meaning was clear. In his heart. I wasn't even worth a single strand of Leela's hair. I looked into his eyes. And all hope died. I understand now. I whispered. In your heart. I'm nothing. Lucien seemed to realize he had said the wrong thing. His expression turned flustered. Alara. I didn't mean it like that. Enough. I pushed him away. Lucien. I'm tired. Go. Go find the one you really care about. After all, I'm just a tool. A tool to carry your bloodline. Lucien looked at me. Eyes full of complex emotions. Finally, having fulfilled one sigh, he turned and walked out. The sound of the door closing was like a death knell sealing my fate. I collapsed on the bed, tears falling like rain. On my wedding night, my husband went to another woman. Just like the last life. Again in this one. I finally understood something. Some people will never change. No matter how many times they're reborn. Lucien would still be Lucien. Selfish. Heartless. And driven only by his desires. I sat in the darkness all night, numb and broken. The dawn. I made a decision. If Lucien doesn't see me as a person, then I won't be one either. From now on, I'd be nothing more than a decoration of the Lucien family. A beautiful, emotionless ornament. From that day forward, I became a puppet. Waking at the same time every day. Eating on schedule. Sleeping without fail. When I saw Lucien, I greeted him. Accompanied him at meals. Listened to his words. But I never got angry. Never cried. Never showed any emotion. Because my heart was already dead. Lucien was uneasy at first. He seemed to prefer the version of me that fought back. Alara. What's wrong? He asked once. You seem like a different person. Nothing. I replied with a faint smile. I'm still me. Does Lucien need anything? If not, I'd like to rest. He looked at me with confusion. But said nothing. Only nodded. Leela still lived in the courtyard next door. Lucien visited her every day, sometimes for an entire day. All the servants in the mansion knew. But no one dared speak of it. I no longer cared. Let him go. I was numb. Until one day, Leela came to see me herself. Sister. She sat across from me. A triumphant smile in her eyes. I have some good news. I set down my teacup and looked at her calmly. What good news? Leela stroked her belly. A blissful smile on her face. I'm pregnant with Lucien's child. My hand trembled slightly. But I quickly regained composure. Congratulations. Leela seemed disappointed by my lack of reaction. Sister. Aren't you angry? Why would I be? I asked coolly. She bit her lip and said. Lucien said that once I give birth, he'll make me the official wife. When that happens, you'll have to give up your position. I looked at her. And for a moment, I felt a flicker of pity. Pity that she still didn't understand what kind of man Lucien truly was. Leela. I said softly. Do you really believe Lucien will make you his official wife? She froze. Then nodded hard. Of course. Lucien loves me. I laughed. A bitter, hollow laugh. He said the same thing to me in our last life. And how did that end? He chose you. Now he's saying the same things to you and you believe him? Her expression changed. You're lying. Lucien isn't like that. Is that so? I stood. Then wait and see. Wait until you give birth and see how he treats you. At the door, I turned to her. Leela, you think you've won. But you're just walking the same doomed path I did. Lucien will never truly love anyone. I left. Behind me, I heard Leela's screams, but I didn't look back. That night, Lucien stormed into my room. Alara, what did you say to Leela? I was brushing my hair, watching him in the mirror. Nothing much. Just congratulated her on the baby. Don't play dumb. Lucien snapped. She's been crying all night. Saying you cursed her. I set down my brush and turned to him. Lucien, what exactly did I curse her with? I just told her you'll never make her your wife. Isn't that the truth? Lucien's expression changed. How did you know? Seeing his reaction, a wave of sorrow washed over me. So it was true. He had never planned to marry her. Leela was still dreaming. But Lucien had calculated everything long ago. Because I know you, I said calmly. Lucien, you would never give up the Alara family's power. Leela is just your plaything. I'm your tool. You'd never give up a useful tool for a toy. Lucien was speechless. After a long pause, he finally opened his mouth. Alara, why do you think of me like that? I looked at him, overwhelmed with exhaustion. Lucien, I don't want to argue with you anymore. Do whatever you want then. I'm tired. I sat back down and resumed brushing my hair. Lucien stood behind me for a long time but finally left. A few months later, Leela gave birth to a son. Lucien was very happy and named the child Xiaoran. Leela held the baby with a face full of joy. Lucien, hadn't fulfilled my exhaustion. When will we get married? She asked. Lucien's expression grew uneasy. Leela. Well, let's talk about that later. Leela's face instantly changed. What do you mean later? Lucien. You promised me. Lucien waved his hand irritably. Leela. Stop making a fuss. When did I ever promise to marry you? I only said I would treat you well and take care of you and the child. Leela was stunned, clutching her baby. Lucien. You don't want me anymore? I don't not want you. Lucien said impatiently. But I can't marry you. I already have a wife. And the Alara family's influence is very important to me. You just stay as my concubine. Leela broke down, crying her heart out while holding her baby. Lucien. You lied to me. You said you loved me. I do love you. But love and marriage are two different things. Lucien said coldly. If you make trouble, I'll kick you out of the Lucien family. Leela dared not say another word and could only weep silently with her child. I watched all this without any satisfaction, only deep sorrow. What's the difference between the past me and the present Leela? We were both toyed with by Lucien. The only difference is that I had the status of a wife, while she didn't even have a title. That night, Leela came to see me. She knelt before me, holding her child, eyes swollen from crying. Sister Alara, she begged. Please give me a place. I only want a title. Even if it's just as a secondary wife. Looking down at her kneeling there, my feelings were complicated. In the past life, I was the one who knelt before her, begging her to spare my child. Now, it was she who knelt before me, begging for a title. A cycle of cause and effect so ironic. Leela, I said softly, get up. If kneeling helped, then there'd be no suffering in this world. She looked up at me with hopeful eyes. Sister, will you help me? She asked. I shook my head. I can't help you. Just like in the past life. When you couldn't help me. Leela's expression changed instantly. What? What are you talking about? Past life? I looked at her and suddenly realized something. She didn't remember the past life. Only Lucien and I were reborn. She was not. That means that things she did to hurt me in the past life never happened to her now. I suddenly felt so tired. So very tired. It's nothing. I stood up. Leela. You can leave. Titles like that only Lucien can give you. I can't. Leela wanted to say more. But I had already turned away. That night, I made a decision. I was going to leave. No matter the cost, I had to leave. I had suffered enough in this life. The next day, I found my cousin Thorn. Brother Thorn. I held his hand. Do you still remember what you promised me? Thorn was stunned for a moment. Then nodded firmly. I remember. I promised to help you leave the capital. Alara. You want to leave? I nodded. I want to get as far away from here as possible. Thorn looked at me with pain in his eyes. Did Lucienne bully you? I didn't answer. Only said. Brother Thorn. We're leaving in 3 days. Can you arrange it? Thorn nodded hard. Yes, having fulfilled my obsession. I'll arrange it right away. Alara. This time I won't let anyone hurt you again. I looked at my cousin's determined eyes and felt warmth in my heart. There was still someone in this world who truly cared about me. 3 days later. Late at night. Thorn and I quietly left the capital. I didn't take anything, not even a single piece of clothing. I just wanted to cut all ties with the past. The carriage sped through the night as I watched the capital slowly disappear outside the window. Lucienne. Goodbye. This time, I was really saying goodbye to you. 5 years later. Jianggan. Thorn and I opened a small inn here. Life was simple but peaceful. Thorn treated me well. Though we were officially cousins. In reality, we were husband and wife. He never brought up the capital or my painful past. He quietly stayed by my side and gave me warmth. In these 5 years, I rarely thought about Lucienne or those painful memories. Time truly is the best healer. It let my heart gradually mend. Until one day, Lucienne appeared at our inn's door. He looked much thinner. His face weathered and worn. The once proud and spirited Lucienne now looked haggard. Alara. He looked at me with complicated feelings in his eyes. I was stunned for a moment. Then regained my composure. Lucienne, ani love out a lo sare. Welcome. Do you need a room? Lucienne's expression changed. Alara. You talk to me like this? What else? I asked coldly. Lucienne. Are we that close? Thorn heard the voice and came out from behind me. Seeing Lucienne, his expression darkened instantly. Lucienne. What are you doing here? Lucienne looked at Thorn. Then at me. I came looking for my wife. Your wife? I sneered. Lucienne. I've been dead for 5 years. Weren't you crying sadly in front of my memorial tablet? Lucienne's face darkened. Alara. I know you're still angry with me. But. Angry? I interrupted him. Lucienne. You're overthinking. I have no feelings left for you. Not even anger. Lucienne was stunned. He thought I would cry. Yell. Accuse him. Or hate him. But I did none of that. I only looked at him calmly. Like looking at a stranger. Alara. Lucienne suddenly knelt down. I know I was wrong. For these 5 years, I've been full of regret and searching for you. Please come back to me. I'll change. I'll treat you well. Seeing Lucienne kneeling on the ground, I felt no waves in my heart. I once thought I would be happy to see him kneel. But now, I only felt it was ridiculous. Lucienne. I said softly. Do you know what happened to Leela? Lucienne was stunned. She's gone. How did she die? Lucienne's face darkened. She committed suicide. The year after you left. She jumped into a well with her child. I nodded. Sadness welling up inside me. Poor Leela. In the past life, she hurt me. In this life, she hurt herself. What about the child? He died with her. Lucienne's voice was barely audible. I closed my eyes and sighed deeply. An innocent child gone like that. Lucienne. I opened my eyes and looked at him. Do you understand now? Your love destroys everyone. It destroyed me in the past life. And Leela and her child in this one. Do you think I would ever go back to you and let you destroy me a second time? Lucienne's face turned pale. Alara. I will change. Change? I sneered. Lucienne. You're already 30. What can you change? Your nature is selfish. Only thinking about your own feelings. You will never truly love anyone. All you know is how to possess. Lucienne wanted to argue. But the words caught in his throat. Because he knew I was right. Alara. He finally said. If I died, would you forgive me? I looked at him. Feeling nothing. Lucienne. Whether you live or die, what does that have to do with me? I've already died once. In this life, I just want to live well. You should live well too. Don't come looking for me again. With that, I turned and walked into the inn. Thorn followed me in and closed the door behind us. Alara. Are you all right? He asked worriedly. I shook my head. I'm fine. I really am. Really? I turned around and looked at him earnestly. Thorn. Thank you for staying by my side these past 5 years. If not for you, I don't know if I could have made it through. Thorn gently cupped my cheek. Alara. You don't need to thank me. Being able to stay by your side is the greatest happiness of my life. I stood on tiptoe and kissed him lightly on the lips. Thorn. Let's stay together forever. Okay? Okay. Thorn nodded firmly, his eyes full of tenderness. Outside, the sound of a carriage slowly faded into the distance. Lucienne had left. I didn't look. I didn't want to. The man I had once loved madly and hated bitterly had finally vanished from my life. And I had finally gained true freedom. As the sun set, Thorn held my hand. We walked together toward the future. This time, no one would ever hurt me again. Because I had learned how to protect myself. And how to love someone who truly loves me back. Lucienne. Thank you. Thank you for teaching me what pain feels like. And thank you for helping me understand what true happiness really is. Goodbye. My past and my pain. Hello. My new life. Epilogue. 10 years later. Thorn and I had 2 children. A son and a daughter. Both well-behaved and sweet. Our in business thrived. Life was happy and fulfilling. Sometimes, I'd think back on those painful memories. But when I did, they felt like stories that belonged to someone else. There was no more emotion, just detachment. Occasionally, travelers from the capital would bring news. They said Lucienne never remarried, and lived alone in solitude. They said he often sat by Lila's grave. Sometimes for an entire day. They said he had become strange, always muttering about past lives and fate. People said he had gone mad. Maybe he really had. People who can't bear their guilt and pain eventually lose their minds. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. I had my life. My family. My happiness. Let the grudges of the past life be scattered by the wind. At night, when all is quiet, I lie in Thorn's arms. Listening to his steady breathing. I feel a peace I've never known before. This is the life I wanted. Ordinary. Quiet. Full of love. No scheming. No betrayal. No cruelty. Only the simple joy of being truly happy. Lucienne. If there is another life after this one, I hope we never meet again. Not because I hate you, but because we were never meant to be. You have your world. And I have my sky. Living our own lives well is the best ending we could ever have. The end.